My name is Mahir. I come from Istanbul and I'm also based in Vienna. I'm an existential coach specialized to work with artists, but actually I'm also a university tutor and cultural manager since 22 years. So I have combined two of my skills and knowledges and created a content called meaning-oriented strategic planning. So I'm here in Cluj this time to coach artists. The question you raised me was about giving advice, 5 advices for artists. But actually my work is not giving advice, but to coach individually, because every human being and every artist is of course a unique human being. So we have to, in existentialism, it is important that we are aware of that. But of course, I mean, there are aspects and issues, common issues that I very often observe when I coach artists. And one of them is about expectations. I mean, expectations of the artists from themselves and the expectations that artists have from other people. I think this is one of the main issues that I observe very often because most of the artists, when they are young, they start already with their artistic and creative activities, and people around them are aware of their talents. So they are, from their childhood on, praised with the work that they do, and they kind of get used to being praised all the time and get the reward of what they do by getting praised. But that, of course, a mother is at the beginning fascinated of what the child can do, but after a while it becomes normal. It is the same thing with the teachers. I mean, when they first discover it, they say, wow, you are great, but after a while it becomes normal. And then when the artist chooses to become a professional artist, then he or she goes to the university, and there the aim of the professors and of the education is not anymore to praise, but to give feedback and to criticize, of course, for the benefit of the artist, and there starts the problems. And this search for being praised becomes a criterion for success for them, and that is, I think, the emotional barrier that most of the artists have. So in order to get rid of this, I mean, what I do by coaching is to help artists to set their own goals, and goals are actually success criteria. When they know how to, in which way they can evaluate themselves and evaluate their works, the evaluation from outside loses its negative side and becomes something which is very productive for them. This is one thing. And the other thing is the expectation from oneself. I mean, because of the same reasons or other reasons, an artist usually expects from himself or herself more than what, or actually not more, because I mean, expectation is something relative. So you set your level of being content yourself. So when you set it yourself, when you reflect on what is for you okay and what do you want to achieve, again, it's about goals, then you are content about yourself. And another thing is expectation from the outer world. I mean, we know that the cultural sector all over the world, even in the richest countries, is not going to the positive direction. And it is obvious that the circumstances of the artists and the cultural actors are not the best ones compared to other professions. What can we do in that case? I mean, we have the choice just to complain or to accept the situation and use our options in our free zone and do the best out of it. Yeah, in existential coaching, there's a principle of dialectic between freedom and destiny, so-called destiny. I mean, how destiny is defined in existentialism is everything that we have no control upon. I mean, we don't have a direct control as an artist or a cultural operator on the system, on the cultural system, on the political system. Of course, we can influence it indirectly by political work, but this is a long-term thing. But what we can do is either to see and focus on all these negative circumstances and complain about them and feel ourselves bad and do nothing against it or to make our lives better. Or we have the option to see our limits, to accept what our circumstances are and find out what options we have in our zone of freedom. Actually, a human being sees the world as like a camera, like a film camera. When you concentrate, focus on one point, you see the rest of the things flew. So if you focus on the other side, then you see the other side flew. That's why we tend to have difficulties in understanding the polarities in life. So if we look at one polarity, then we don't see the other side. Actually, by the dialectic, we bring a balance between them. We try to see the both sides. So if we focus on our limitations, we just have the option to complain. But if we see first our limits, accept them, and then turn the focus on our free zone, and then search for what options we have to go further, then we don't have the energy anymore or the urge to complain, because we are doing what we can do in our free zone. That is what we existential coaches are helping our clients to do. So to identify their limitations and find out the options in their lives so that they can take them one by one and develop themselves and put one stone onto the other and build a strategy for their lives. I mean, here I had just 2 hours of coaching per person, so I could not guide them. So what I did was, my aim was to bring a clarity of mind, so that at least in the area of their issues, so that they can solve their problems themselves and maybe find the way to move in their free zone. The coaching sessions specifically I had in Cluj was that I was fascinated by each coachee I had, by their potentials and what they have already achieved. I mean, most of them came with an issue because that is my job, but actually it was a burden, a small burden always in their present lives, which was a small burden in their success story. So unfortunately, human being gets stuck by these burdens, emotional burdens, and don't realize that the bigger picture, how successful they are actually. But of course, people coming to me are actually people who want to learn, who want to develop. So they were all actually people who have achieved a lot of things, but had just a punctual burden in their lives. And I'm happy also to be in Cluj, invited by CCC, because I mean, I see how those individuals come together and achieve really big goals to change their city, to raise the well-being of their city. Thank you.